On the Radio is brought to you by Zurich Insurance, the perfect place to catch up with all things Melbourne. If you enjoy this content and want more inside access from the team, make sure you visit the club website.
Plenty of footy, other footy still to come, including the CEO of the Melbourne Footy Club, Gary Pert, who's just completed a review of Melbourne's footy department and operations, and he's ready for us to have a chat about all of that. Good afternoon to you, Perty. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Hutto.
Been an amazing year, hasn't it, before we get into the review? What's it been like for you as the CEO of a footy club?
Well, I think it's pretty much like everyone else. I mean, we were set for the year and we had it all planned out and the fixture was set and you've done your pre-season. And then, of course, it turns on its head and we ended up in two different hubs and then up in Queensland. And you were just really on a week-to-week basis trying to cope with what was being thrown at us. So, that was just a challenge for everyone. And I think the AFL and all the clubs did pretty well considering.
How much time did you spend in the hub yourself?
Well, our first hub was in Manly and we thought that might be for a few weeks. So I wasn't on that one, but when we went to Twin Waters, I was there for the rest of the season. So it gave me a good opportunity to really be in amongst the football program for the majority of the season, whether that was the pre-game meetings, on match day and the post-game reviews, and you really got a good feel for all the elements that are moving around, putting the team out on the field each week.
Yeah, so do you think you'll get a lot out of that? I mean, you're obviously been around footy for forever, but you're still relatively new in that particular role at Melbourne.
Look, you can be around footy for a long time, but sitting in the meetings and being part of the conversations about specifically what we're dealing with as a club right at the moment and where our list's at and where our challenges are, it was certainly not something that we thought would eventuate, but it was a good opportunity and sort of set up a whole lot of conversations then that you could have at quite an intimate level then after the season as well as part of the review.
So, every club, every business would carry out some sort of review at the end of their whatever their year is. Did you feel like you had to do a more thorough review? Did you think about getting someone from the outside to be involved in that? How did you go about just deciding what sort of review was needed, given that you would have fallen short of what you were hoping for from a footy point of view?
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, which is every club, doesn't matter even if you win the premiership, you're reviewing the elements of your program and always looking to see how you can get better and, as we're seeing at the moment, trying to improve your list. But I wanted to take the opportunity because of what I'd been sitting in and what I'd been experiencing during the year, that I saw it was an opportunity to just at a deeper level give the players, coaches and staff a real opportunity to have their say as well. You can see elements yourself when you're part of the program, but I sat down with over 40 of the players, staff and coaches as a cross-section, ended up having, around 100 face-to-face phone, Zoom calls, conversations with people, including some experts from outside our club deliberately to benchmark our program and parts of it against some of the footy clubs and programs that I admire the most, some even in different codes. And that gives you a really good insight to go, all right, this is where we're at. These are the improvements we need to make, and then you can go about it.
Could you give us a short example of that, of where you maybe look to another sport or organisation to benchmark, as you said?
Oh, yeah. So, there's this, the area of of leadership from the player leadership groups, and it's all done slightly differently at each different club, and it gave me an opportunity to work through how other clubs are using that leadership, how the players are driving it, what is best practice, where do we sit in relation to that, and there were some real opportunities that you could see as part of that benchmarking. But also the thing that comes through is, all of the clubs at this elite level are doing so many things so well. They really are professional organisations. But the thing that sets the teams apart that are playing in the finals and making grand finals is quite often just their ability to deliver consistently over a longer period of time. So the best teams, and this is definitely a major focus from us out of the review, is, we had lots of games where we'd play a good half or maybe good 3 quarters, and we would let a team kick 3, 4, 5 goals in a 10, 15-minute period, and that's enough to lose the game. Well, the better teams don't have that lack of consistency, and from week to week, the best teams, their best performances aren't necessarily better. It's just their performances week to week are just at a higher level, and they don't drop off to the same levels. And that's why we didn't deserve this year to be in the finals. I mean, we set it up. We were in a position where we could have controlled our own destiny, but in the last few games of the year, when we went up to Cairns, we lost our consistent performance, and it cost us a berth in the finals. And these are the areas we've got to get right to be doing what we've said to our supporters, made it clear we expect to be back in the finals and winning finals games.
Simon talked about at one stage later in the year the club needing to be more ruthless. Are you? Is he right? And how are you putting that into play if that's true?
Well, a lot of ways in what he's referring to there is the consistency. Like the ruthless teams, doesn't matter if you're playing the top team or the bottom team, you just deliver, you get the job done. And you're delivering through 4 quarters, and you're doing it every week. And, that's really the difference. If I look at the teams that played off in the grand final, I look at those teams and I go, at our best, we're right in the mix with those teams. But what sets us apart is their ability to perform for 4 quarters, week in, week out. And when they drop off, they might drop off very slightly, where teams like us, we just drop off too far, and that's where we've got to get our attitude, our consistency. I've made it very clear that the way we approach our first training session of pre-season and the standards we find acceptable in those sessions, that's what will come out when we play in games next year. So these are the areas that we're going to be focused on.
Tell us, why did you decide that the roles of Alan Richardson and Josh Marnie needed to change, and how will that play out?
As a club, we still don't have the home-based facilities of a lot of other clubs. And so it has been a big focus for us to be building a training facility out at Casey Fields. And, we've had 2 quite major developments out there. We're in the process, and it's progressing really well, working with the state government and the AFL about building a home base within the precinct around the MCG, which is so critically important for the identity of the Melbourne Footy Club. These are big projects. They're important for us and our footy program, because right at the moment we do not have the facilities that are allowing our players and coaches to have the same resources that the teams we're competing against. So that's a really important part of where we're at. And so Josh Marnie's role has just become too broad, having to focus on the facilities, AFLW, the VFL, and also where we're at with our AFL men's program. So to me, it was a pretty obvious outcome of the review that our AFL program, Simon Goodwin and the coaches need a real dedicated, focused support from someone who, and Alan Richardson I've put into that role, who is just all day, every day focused on the performance of the AFLW men's program, is not caught up in the facilities working groups, not tied up in a lot of the football administration now that's become part of that role. So it was about focusing and dedicating people to the roles that are required.
I mentioned you've been in the game both as a player and an administrator a long time. So you've seen a lot of coaches at close hand. Where would you say Simon Goodwin is at in his coaching space or career, however you want to term it?
Well, I think Goody is very good one-on-one with the players. Like from the review, there's a lot of support for Goody. He's someone that the players talk about. He's a good teacher. He's a good educator. He makes them better players. And we've got a talented list. So I think the challenge, there's always a lot of focus on the head coach. It's nearly like he's the only one involved in leading the program. But there's so many other leaders within that program. And Goody has to align with all those leaders within the program and ultimately get the best out of that player group. So, this is the challenge, and it's, he sees it, you could say it for all the coaches. The best coaches, and this is a big focus for Goody at the moment, is to be looking at the talent within the list, look at what are our strengths and attributes. I mean, we have to be making the finals and winning finals games, not the way Richmond plays or Geelong or any other team. The strengths and attributes that we've got in our list, Goody's challenge is to bring those out. And, that's going to be our focus to go. That's what's going to get us back into the finals. And he sees that clearly, and he's, excited about the challenge over this pre-season to really focus on that area.
Has that not been done enough in the past then?
Well, you got to look at the results, and actually, I think with every team is the teams that are playing in the finals, especially those that are making the top four, have been able to consistently get the best out of their players. I mean, we had 3 players in the top 11 in the Brownlow. We've clearly got talent in the team, and the focus of the player leadership group, the coaches, including Goody, has got to be about consistently getting the best out of that group for 4 quarters every week. So where our whole coaching program's at, that's the challenge that they've got right in front of them now.
So you should be challenging next year then in your mind in terms of all things being equal. We all know injuries and other factors, but you should be right up there.
Well, and we said the same this year. We wanted to be playing finals this year. As I said to you, with 4 games to go, it was in our control, and we were playing 2 of the bottom 6 teams at the time. We really had it as a real possibility. This year, coming into this pre-season, we've got to be working on our game style, on our program, so that in 2021, absolutely, we're in the finals, but playing a style of football that can win finals games as well, and that's certainly our focus as a club at the moment.
Do you think you'll get Ben Brown in the next couple of days?
Look, I'd like to think so. I think whenever you've got a player that wants to get there and the club wants them there, the deal normally gets done. And we need 2 key forwards. I think all of the Melbourne supporters would have seen Sam Wiedemann battle, the whole year, and he needs another big body player down there every week in combination, and I think Ben's shown that he can do that. So he'll be an important ingredient for the program, and he's keen to get there, which is great.
Do you need to know the list size and what the cap's going to look like sooner rather than later?
It would certainly help. It does seem a little bit bizarre that we're all negotiating to build our lists for a hypothetical number. I mean, it's pretty obvious if you were to chat to any CEO or any list manager, we're all trying to manage our finances at the moment because of the pandemic impact on all the clubs. So that sort of information is really important for us to help us manage financially, but also from the list managers, they want to know what they've got to be trading with or how many spots they've got to be building the list that's going to, maximise their performance next year. So it is a bit of a bizarre situation at the moment.
So no indication of when you might know?
We've 2 or 3 times we've been given an indication and it sort of just hasn't eventuated. So we're just really, I think everyone's putting a lot of pressure on and we're really hoping that gets articulated very soon because there's players' careers on the line, resting there, waiting to hear that information. It is really, really critical information for everyone to know.
Perty, appreciate your time. Just as we let you go, is there Dee's got anything up their sleeve? Any surprises in the next few days other than what we've heard about already?
Not really. I mean, as you know, every team's talking to each other about lots of hypotheticals and just sort of testing the water on stuff. So we're the same as every club. We're looking at every opportunity, but there's nothing that's brewing, and unless it gets a little bit more traction. And we've tried to be really transparent with our supporters whenever that happens, and we'll continue to do that.
Thanks for your time, mate. Enjoy the off season, and look forward to next year. Thanks for being with us.
Great. Thanks, Hutto.